How's it going today, everybody? Chadley here, and today we are updating our Frosted Flak Rack Attack build, and this is our third Flak build 3 days in a row. So if you guys missed White Death Flak and Flak Nukem updates, make sure you guys go check those out for a Gamma Burst and 3-shot fadeaway builds. But right now, we are going to be looking at a Rack Attack build, and this one is not quite the Frosted Flak that we're all accustomed to, because right now, there are a lot of bugs going against the general premise of this build, but nonetheless, we're still going to update it and just make a couple little changes, and if those bugs ever get fixed, we can go back to playing how we usually play this build. We're going to start off looking off at our weapons, and we're going to be starting off with the Bloom pistol, and I have 100 Rack Attack on here. I've been trying to find just a general 100 ASE. I feel like that one would be a little bit better because this is one of our main mobbing weapons with this build. But the 100 Rack Attack definitely works pretty well, and it definitely helps us out on some beefier targets like badasses and, say, the Valkyries. You can just shred through them with this thing, and it's pretty damn nice. Now, if you guys really don't want to use the Bloom, you can use another light show. You can use a wagon wheel pretty well. You can use a King's Call. You can use a license. A flipper works okay. But the thing that I would use if you guys really don't want to use the Bloom, and in my opinion, it's actually probably better than the Bloom, but I just find it less fun because we use it all the time on Flak, is the Reflux. You're going to just destroy mobs with this thing. You guys probably already know that. I have a level 57 here, and this thing just shreds through enemies here at level 60 like they're nothing, so definitely a very, very solid option, and you guys really don't need to go farm a level 60 right now if you really don't want to. If you guys have a level 57, it'll do. But I personally really like to use the Bloom. I find it a lot of fun. And then moving down, we're going to pull out the Hyper Focus with this build, because with this build, we can keep our bonus elements up all the time, and we have 2 fangs, so this gun actually does quite a bit of damage. Now, in the Guardian takedown, it might not perform quite how you like it, so you could substitute it out with one of the new DLC 3 guns, and you guys will have a little bit better time there. But for everything else, the Hyper Focus is a very, very solid option. But if you guys really don't want to use that, a Beacon is a really good choice. The Herald is not bad, and like I said with the other weapons, a License, a Reflux, Flipper, all of those will do very, very well. And then our third weapon is going to be the Light Show. I like to use a corrosive one just for the armor in a lot of the takedown stuff. And this thing, if you guys have not seen it already, it just shreds through everything like it's butter. The Light Show is basically a Monarch, but a pistol, and Flak definitely gets a huge advantage out of movement speed. So having this instead of a Monarch is fantastic, and I will almost always pick this now. But this thing is very, very strong, and I highly recommend using this. I don't know if I would replace this with anything. You can use the Monarch if you would like to, but I would use the Light Show. And then finally, since we are using the Bloom, we do need a weapon for mass mobbing, like the Bridge and the Malawan Takedown. So we are going to throw on a Plague Bearer, and just 200 Splash is probably the best thing you can do, because you can keep throwing out your racks. And if you guys want to use the Reflux instead of the Bloom, you can take off the Plague Bearer, because then you'd have enough mobbing anyways, and you can use something else. It's completely up to you. Any of the weapons that I mentioned previously will work perfectly fine in that slot if you make that Reflux choice. And now, the main part where this build kind of isn't what we're used to is we are using a Transformer right now. So you can use like the stopgap with the action skill start effect, so you can basically be invincible. But right now, head count still does not work with racks, which is super unfortunate. So we can't get just pure invincibility. And then the way we normally play this is with a Snowshoe or a Frozen Heart with the action skill start effect, because this is going to release that Cryo Nova that freezes everybody around you and also heal you off the Nova damage. But for right now, just throw on a Transformer, and if you guys throw on Pool Party as a modifier, you will have some really, really good survivability. Now let's go ahead and move on to our grenade. Since this is a rack build and head count does not work and we're not using it, I like to use its piss. It gives us 20% bonus damage on enemies. But for certain bosses, I will just throw on a Hunter Seeker to get our Bounty Hunter, to get our kill skills, and stack up the Pearl and all that good stuff. But for just general play, its piss is perfectly fine, and that 20% bonus is going to help you deal a lot more damage to targets that you want to deal that 20% increased damage to. And then for our class mod, we are going to be using a bounty hunter. And with the bounty hunter, I highly recommend having at least 1 point into frenzy. That is the blue shark skill that you see on it. Have at least one, because our skill tree is based off of having at least 1 point in there. I recommend the skill setup that you see here, 3 most dangerous game, and then 2 frenzy. But if you guys have like more frenzy than 2, that is perfectly fine, and you guys are going to definitely see a benefit from it. Now, our artifact, we are going to be using the pearl. If you guys don't want to be using the pearl, I would use a snowdrift auto idol or an icebreaker auto idol. Either of those will work well. So now that we have gone through our weapons, let's go ahead and look at our skills. We're going to start here in the red skill tree. Obviously, we're going to be using RAKKs. And our augments, I like to use Falconer's Feast and RAKK Accelerate because head count is not working. Otherwise, I would use Falconers and Flock and Load. But right now, we can get a little bit of health to maybe negate a dot that's going to kill us here and there. And then RAKK Accelerate for that extra charge of RAKK attack is always nice to have. But for our skills, we're going to go 5 points into Interplanetary Stalker, 3 points into Leave No Trace, 5 points into Hunter's Eye, 5 points into Two Fang. Now, we're only using, for the most part, one weapon that shoots multi-pellets, and that is the Light Show. So we're going to get a huge boost to damage from Two Fang, especially on that Hyper Focus and that Plague Bear, because the Plague Bear, obviously, you can shoot 2 rockets with 1 shot, and then the Hyper Focus, since it gets extra projectiles coming in from the side with our bonus elements, when we shoot 2 initial shots, we're going to have double the amount of shots coming in from the side, and it just ends up being a bunch more damage. So it feels really nice to be using Two Fang again, because we haven't really been using that in a lot of flak builds. And then 3 points into Big Game and Most Dangerous Game, definitely a must-have here in the red tree. 1 point into Galactic Shadow for more crit damage and enemies less likely to attack us. And then obviously we're going to be using Megavore. Now let's go ahead and look at our green skill tree. We're going to use 5 points into Self-Repairing System for that health regen and max health. That's also going to help our Falconer's Feast augment, because that is based off of our max health. 5 points into Furious Attack for that gun damage and also pet damage, because our pet can actually do something. And then 5 points into Overclock. That fire rate actually ends up being a good amount of extra damage. 2 points into Eager to Impress, just to help us get our racks back while we're killing something. And then 1 point into All My BFFs. 1 point into Lick the Wound so our pet can revive us. 3 points into Turn Tail and Run for the gun damage while we're still, and also the damage reduction and health regen while we're moving. 3 points into Fast and Furious for that gun damage while we're above half health, and the movement speed is nice to have. And then since we are doing racks, things are going to be targeting us a lot, so we're going to skip Hidden Machine for this build. Rage and Recover is still bugged, and then we're going to do Power Inside, because this is super easy to use with racks. Just when you're casting your racks, if you can, wait until you're at full health so you get that double bonus on Power Inside, but if not, just keep spamming those racks and you'll always have Power Inside up. And then you guys will notice we have 6 points left. So what we can do with this is, even though Persistence Hunter, the duration is not going to help our racks, we are going to get a little bit extra gun damage out of it. Then we're going to have to use 2 points to get down to the next tier. And so you can just put 1 in each or 2 in 1. Doesn't really matter, just to get us to the next tier. And then we can put our final point into He Bites, and then with He Bites, we can use that to proc Frenzy, and that is why I said on that Bounty Hunter class mod, you're going to want at least 1 Frenzy, so you can use this He Bites point to put it into Frenzy and stack it up quicker. Now, if you guys really are against using a Bounty Hunter, skip the blue tree entirely, and then just add points into like Second Intention or Grim Harvest, and you guys will be good to go there. Now let's quickly switch on over to our modifiers. I'm not completely set with the ones that I have on right now, but for easy and medium, I always pick Speed Demon and Healy Avenger for flak. Now, Pool Party with the Transformer is a pretty nice option. If in the future you guys are using this with like the Snowshoe or the Frozen Heart, I would 100% take off Pool Party, put on the Healing Drone modifier. That one will be really nice and you will never even notice it. That one is super easy to do. Now, I have Buddy System on right now. I'm thinking of switching over to Postmortem for everything. I'm kind of really tired of Buddy System, but you guys can pick between Postmortem and Buddy System. I really wouldn't do Holy Crit unless your guys' aim is insane, because otherwise you are definitely going to see a damage fall off with Holy Crit. Now, finally, let's go ahead and look at our head and skin combo, because you guys always have questions about those. So I always like to use the new bust head. This is the PAX code giveaway and also the stream team code giveaways. So that was the only way of getting this. They said they're going to make it available in the future. So if you guys do not have it, just be patient. Maybe in the future we will all be able to have this awesome head. And then for the skin, I'm just using like, follow, obey. This also came from the same exact code. You will get both the head and this skin from that code. And then for the colors, I'm just using all white because this is Frosted Flak, and it just gives you that nice, clean, icy look, and I'm a huge fan of it. Yeah, guys, that is Frosted Flak. Now, it is definitely a shame that bugs are preventing us from playing this build exactly how we kind of intended it to be played when we originally built it. But right now, it definitely works very well as just a general RAKK build, and then you guys can play it however you'd like once things get fixed. It is completely up to you. That is one of the great parts about this build, is there is tons and tons of freedom with it, with our weapons and gear choices. So if you guys need any other builds on other Flak, Amara, or Moze things, definitely check out my other videos. We have a Gamma Burst, a Fadeaway, a Fate Zerker, and also a Minesweeper build for all the different characters. So definitely go check those out. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. I will hopefully catch some of you guys over on Twitch. We stream every single night at 7 p.m. Central. And if that is too late for you, starting next week on Monday, I am going to be streaming from right around 9 a.m. Central Time to about noon Central Time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's because I want to start streaming a little bit more, but I don't want to be staying up later than I already am. So I'm going to start streaming twice a day. So definitely, hopefully, I will see you guys over there if you can't make the later streams. But guys, have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya.